big axe. Ooh! Cut! 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 I wanted a grouse, not an owl! Oh! And there's the famous one. Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man. That's your Lilliputian services. How are you all? Hope we're doing very well. But the show must go on. Right. Going up. Hey! Hope we're all doing very, very well. Now, what's going on? Do you remember the awesome 80s classic Italian slasher with shades of giallo in it? Aquarius, Deliria, Stagefright. Michelle Soavi, some would say Michelle Soavi, who was one of the AD, second directors, assistant directors for Dario Argento, worked with Lamberto Bava, Mario Bava's son. Became a filmmaker in his own right, doing great genre work. The Church, The Sect, Della Morte Della More, aka Cemetery Man, which I truly adore, and one day I will really cover that, give it the full kilted treatment. But his directorial debut in 1987 was Stagefright, as I say, aka Aquarius, Bloody Bird, Delirium, lots of different names, as most Italian movies genre product would have. And this was a film that I'm not actually reviewing. I'm reviewing sort of it in a snapshot, because there's a particular sequence in this, a set piece. Italian horror movies, 70s, well 60s, 70s, 80s, thrived on their set piece murders, their grand guignol sequences, their mise en scene, their vignettes, you know. And how many more languages can I embrace whilst drinking whiskey? A lot more, trust me. Michelle Soavi, the story with this one is we have a troupe of sort of flash dance, modern age performers who are going to go do a jazzed up, funked up version of some serial killer's exploits. But unbeknownst to them, in their off-Broadway production, the real serial killer, stupidly named Irving Wallace, I think it is, Irving Wallace, has escaped from the nut house, and he hot-foots it there the night he came back to the stage, basically. And he dons a huge and fantastic owl head mask, massively ornate, and then proceeds to lock them in and decimate all of these young, gorgeous people. And it is fantastic. Chainsaws, axes, knives, guns, all sorts. Heads come off, people are chopped in half. There's all sorts going on in here. And you've got a lot of knowing winks to the entire genre. Like, you know, by the way, folks, spoilers ahead. At the very end, our beautiful final girl who has survived this massacre. And then you've got another finale afterwards where she goes back to the theatre where she was trapped with all her friends who have all died. And she works out, because she's after a bit of jewellery, if I remember rightly. She's after that. I never got that back. And she's hearing flashbacks to, like, you know, hang on a minute. I fought this guy and I killed him. And hang on a minute. How many corpses did they find? He's still there, isn't he? So you get another finale to the movie. And it's a wonderful touch. But, you know, if I do review the movie full on properly, you'll get all of that stuff as well. But that's not why I've convened us all here today at this particular juncture in time. No. I kind of started something a while ago with playing bits of music. I mean, that's how I started this channel off anyway, I think. I was playing great bits of movie music and going, oh, this is awesome, hey? And this bit here where he shoots that and he runs over the roof here and all that kind of thing. And I was doing lots of horror scores too. That's how I kind of started off on the YouTube channel. But I always wanted to do this particular sequence, this set piece in Soavi's movie, Stagefright, Aquarius, Delirium, Deliria, Bloody Bird, whatever you want to call it, Bloody Owl, is absolutely incredibly visually sumptuous, orally powerful. It's everything you expected and wanted and craved and often got from Dario Argento. And Soavi does this in his directorial debut. One of these, right, you're hearing bits of it now, and I will describe it. We're going to play it all again and I'll describe it properly. But basically, Barbara Cupisti from New York Ripper and other gialli, and absolutely drop dead gorgeous. She's the leading lady in this movie. And she is the final girl. She has survived. She's seen her friends getting decimated. She's hidden in a shower stall next to a girl who's already badly wounded being offed, and she's got to keep quiet. So you've got lots of suspense in there. There's lots and lots of drama. Well, it's in the theatre, isn't it? And all of this kind of set piece mayhem. Chainsaws, multiple killings. You've got Giancarlo Radice Lombardi in there, who's the guy that is the most messed up guy in Italian genre movies. He's had everything that could happen to a human body. In the movies, he's had it. He's had his dickery-doo hacked off and eaten before his very eyes. The top of his head sliced off and his brains scooped out. He's been shotgunned in half. He's had a lathe drill going through his head. Oh God, he's had everything can happen. He's had it happen to him. And he's wonderful in this. And he's playing a very camp OTT performer. But all the other cast are OTT but do reasonably well. They get off in a variety of ways. As I say, people get cut in half. And you've got a couple of killings that happen in quick succession, which is a great touch from Soavi, where you would think they've pulled. They're trying to save a girl who's fallen through the floorboards, and the killer's dragging her down. They're pulling her up. He's dragging her down, and all of a sudden, and now you're way ahead of me. They come up. She's been cut in half. But then straight after, you get one of the heroes. Oh no! And he leaps in there to go and do away with the killer. And next thing you know, the killer's got a chainsaw, and he's like, oh! He's all hacked up. Anyway. The film is tremendous. The film is fully uncut in the UK and pretty much everywhere now. Stagefright. I'm trying to avoid that ferocious ring-light reflection. Look at that. With a few good extras on that, actually. That's the UK release. There's many other releases of it, of course. And the film is sumptuously lit. It's well directed. It has a score by Simon Boswell, Brit Simon Boswell, who's worked a fair bit with Clive Barker, Lord of Illusions and something else. He did Shallow Grave as well, and Dust Devil for Richard Stanley. And his music's great, but he embraced at the time, this was the 80s, Moogs and samplers. So he sampled a hell of a lot of stuff, and the music, his score, which he collabed, there's two other composers on the score for this movie, and whose names I've forgotten. They're Italian names. I should know them. I really should. I'm sorry, I do not remember them right now. But and he's done most of the tracks of the movie, and they're atmospheric. A lot of them are pounding. A lot of them are kind of like rock. There's a fair bit of guitar and percussion in there, which for me, it's of its time, and I like it because of that. But it does, if I listen to the soundtrack, those tracks really bring me out. In fact, watching the film, those tracks, the way the film's cut together, you go from like a great piece of atmospheric set piece suspense building music to suddenly all of a sudden thrash metal, and you're like, oh, what? Where'd that come from? It's too jarring. But overall, I like what he does. I like Simon Boswell. But this sequence that I'm coming to, because this is the whole crux of the matter, folks. And you've been hearing the music in the background here, and the music is absolutely vital to what you see. Like Dario Argento with Suspiria, Inferno, Deep Red, Profondo Rosso, Tenebrae especially. The marriage of music and visuals is sacrosanct. That cements. Look, people can go on about style over substance. Oh God, Italian movies and slasher movies. It's all about the kill. Of course, it's about the kill. It's about the set piece. Logic doesn't have to be there. This is an art form. It is an art form. It's a blood-drenched, highly misogynistic, usually, art form. But that is what many of us got into movies, loved about the whole genre. That's why we're here. These are the things that set in motion our passion for these gratuitous, over the top, yet incredibly, cinematic and brilliantly choreographed, fantastically art directed and galvanizing set piece sequences. The film doesn't have to make sense. How does the killer get from here to here to here to here? How is she indestructible? What does it matter? At the end of the day, the thing is about you're terrified of that creature, that thing, that entity, that killer there. And you are worrying about this survivor, that survivor. Can they get out? What can they do? How can they fight back? This guy, this thing is unstoppable. And the set piece, the cinematography, the lighting, the music takes you out of any kind of logic barriers that are set in motion by normal cinematic narrative. And Soavi gets this. He gets this. And this sequence, which I think is a double-hander, owes a massive debt but pays a huge homage to Hitchcock and of course to Argento. This is awesome. Right, I'm going to set the scene for you now and then we'll play the music. The music's playing right now, but we're going to play it properly. What it is, Alicia, I think it is. Barbara Capisti is the only girl left alive now. She knows there's keys somewhere to get out. They're locked in the theatre. There's keys to get out. Right, come on, I can find these. Goes in the drawer, gets a big ring full of keys, and she goes to the main door. And she's trying to, but one by one, each key is not doing it. Oh God. She's also got a Beretta 9mm. Well, it's an Italian movie, so obviously, and it's 87, so Martin Riggs had made the Beretta infamous. And she's got one. So, and this guy, the killer, Irving Wallace, has donned this huge owl's head mask, which is a genuinely frightening thing. There are figures of him, and I do believe the mask is coming out. Someone's going to say, oh, it's already out, Kilt-Man. Why haven't you got it? You're slow on the uptake. Well, yeah, maybe I am. I thought it was coming out. But anyway. And he's owned the entire theatre, and he's slain everybody, and he can pop up anywhere and do anything, and he's indestructible. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if they see him doing his stuff. He's gloating about it as well. Anyway, the keys don't work. And she just sits there. She goes, oh God, no, shit. Puts her head in her hands, and all of a sudden, as she does this, the entire stage-bound lights come on. She looks up, she sees there's Owlhead there, and he's coming up, and what he's doing, he's going to arrange a tableau, a gruesome tableau, a macabre masterpiece of 3D real life and death artwork on the stage. All the people he's killed, he's going to arrange them in seats and across the stage. Some of them are in bits, and he's still going to do this, and But what he does is he puts on the big tape recording, and it's one of those big old spooling. How would it go? It wouldn't go like that, would it? What would it go like that? Or would it go? It wouldn't go like that, would it? It'd be like an old VHS or Betamax tape getting mangled around the video heads. Oh God. And this film came out during that era, slightly later than the Video Nasty era, but it got lumped in with it though. The aftermath. So she's there and she sees Owlhead the killer arranging all the bodies, doing lots of things to them, lifting up severed heads and putting them on mannequins. So, but a tape recording comes on. There's a cat. There is the theatre cat, which is there as well. Like it's the Jonesy from the Nostromo, but of the theatre world. The pussy of the opera. And what comes on is this. This will suddenly start up. This is Shostakovich, Dmitri Shostakovich, 8th movement. Sorry, 8th Symphony, 3rd movement. And this blasts out over the stage-bound speakers as she watches what Owlhead starts doing. And she's like shrinking back in fear into the shadows, watching this guy, moving bodies around, arranging them. So this is not Simon Boswell, this is Shostakovich. This is a classical piece of very intense music. I'm going to turn it up again. You've got some blasting stabs, strings, and high-end strings and low-end strings, cello. He starts doing all these horrible things. The cat walks past some of the cables on the stage. It's a raised stage, that's important. A raised stage. And it clicks the connection together. And all of a sudden, one of the big fans goes on. The big upright fans. And all these feathers begin to blow across this tableau. Crazy, frightening, surreal. And he begins to pick up feathers and smudge them over his victims' faces. They've got bloody... It's the real actors, you know. It might be a severed head, but it's the guy there with, you know, obviously just his head poking above a table. And they're trying to not blink. One girl does blink. They start smudging their faces. And the weird thing I like about it is, you think he picks up the feathers to try and clean the blood off their faces. He doesn't. He's just going, smudging it, and even ramming the feathers into the mouth. And it's like, oh, what are you doing? It's so abstract. It's so random. It's genuinely frightening. There's a moment as well where all of a sudden he sees something which you don't notice. This is the killer. And he picks up the axe and he runs across the stage while this is playing. And this goes, well, he just goes, whoomph, and takes off a mannequin's head. And you're like, Jesus Christ. And the head comes to a halt in front of the camera. Because you're thinking, like, was that someone's head? It's a mannequin's head. And he picks up the feather of the producer and shoves that on top of the stump of the mannequin of the bust. But with the classical, intense music, there's so much power generated. And he's such a frightening image. You think, like, how can you see? How could you operate? You've got no peripheral vision whatsoever. Owls' heads can turn all the way round, you know, like Linda Blair in The Exorcist. But it's genuinely frightening. Now, remember, our poor girl is trying to get out. She is hidden away in the shadows. Our killer sits down in a big armchair. He pulls a body off the armchair and he sits down, and the cat gets on his lap, and like Blofeld, he's stroking the cat like that, and just sitting there amidst his ghastly tableau of the gruesome carnage that he's wrought that night, all his trophies. And you know, this goes on for a fair bit, and all of a sudden our girl sees in the floorboards of the raised stage the key glinting in the light. There's the key, it's stuck in the floorboards. Shit, it's not far from him. I've got the gun. She creeps on through and heads up beneath the stage. Now, what I'll do now is, because you just heard all the pulverizing classical Shostakovich and all this boom, 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 and these energetic, frenzied strings, so giving it loads there. That's a technical phrase, giving it loads. You'll see it in many, you know, concertos. The conductor says, "Give now, you oboe, give it loads." But she now knows she's got to go underneath to try and get this key out, to get out the door. It's pure Hitchcock, it's pure Argento. It's a long set piece, and it is pulverizingly brutal and exciting, and, you know, completely sphincter tingling. So what happens is that spooling tape recording segues into what is Simon Boswell's score, and this is what comes up next. They don't play the full Shostakovich, but it blends into this ethereal, haunting passage. Voices, choir, chorus, all sampled on this synthesized wave of pure, dreamy suspense. She begins to work underneath the stage. She finds a nail, because she can't get the key out of the floorboard. Finds a nail on the floor and all the dust and the cobwebs, and begins to try to prise this out. And while this is playing, that bloody cat sitting on the owl's lap, the owl and the pussycat, suddenly, with the great camera work, spies this glinting, the actual proper bowl shape of the key, the handle of the key, moving, sees it, spies it, slowly creeps off Owlhead's lap, drops down on the floorboards and begins to come towards it. Interested, it's looking at this, it's drawing attention to the key. Oh my god, and she's trying to work it loose. Listen to this. In a film of gratuitous violence and pure exploitation, and many genre licks and tropes, and lots of homages, however you want to say it, this is a moment of true, absolute spellbinding magic in a film full of blood and guts and carnage. It's beautiful. It genuinely is. Now, you've already heard the classical Shostakovich, now you're hearing Simon Boswell's score, and the way it blends together, the two, bombast and ethereal, shouldn't work, and yet they do. And the scene unfolds in such a tremendously vigorous, dreamy, frightening, intense manner. You're on the edge of your seat the entire time. And she'll get the key. Ooh. Twit twoo. You know, I'm happy. And the cat, well, I'm not sure if the cat turns off the tape recording, or I think the tape recording just ends. It just suddenly goes, just cuts out, and she begins to try to make her escape, underneath the stage. And suddenly, Who are we going to use? We're going to use you, mate. We're going to use you. Oh, look at that. He was sitting on a bottle of grouse. And as she crawls out from beneath the stage, suddenly, can you see that? He's there and he makes a grab for it. And no, that's not an owl. It's a wolf, bat creature. And then Boswell's more pulverizing, accelerated, very 80s post-punk style music comes in, driving, relentless. But it's this stuff that I wanted to convey to you, how beautiful that transition is from astonishingly intense classical music. You know, people go like, oh, I don't like classical music. Oh really? Do you like movie soundtracks? Like orchestral soundtracks? And they go, oh yeah, John Williams and James Horner and Jerry Goldsmith, oh yeah, I love that stuff. Where the hell do you think they got their inspiration from? Their construction, their composition from, their orchestration from? From classical bloody music, you know, composers. Shostakovich. How intense and driving is this? The agitated, you know, the violins, cellos, the viola, but then the cello kicks in with all of this. Now, I believe this is in the film Sergei Eisenstein's Battleship Potemkin, the classic Battleship Potemkin. Yeah, most of us know it from The Untouchables with the pram going down the stairs. Yeah, and but apparently it's in that movie as well. I've seen that film and it's great. It's actually a great film, but I do not remember this bit of music in it. I always thought that when I first saw Stagefright that this piece of music was a classical piece, but I thought like, oh, it's been done for the movie because it sounds so arch and it's so in keeping with, you know, the demonic nature of this killer. Who, by the way, at the very end of the movie, he gets shot between the eyes. I killed him. I shot him between the eyes, and it's not the girl. It's not the girl. She's gone back for a bit of jewellery. Is it a watch or a bracelet? I can't remember. And the caretaker has got the gun, like, and he said, oh, I was always told that he'd shoot between the eyes, and the killer hasn't died, and he's been beaten, he's been set on fire, he's fallen from great heights, and yet he still comes back at the end, and it is a great but ridiculous moment. Remember what I said before? Style over substance. Don't look at the narrative, don't look at the logic behind it. Giallo movies and slasher picks don't need narrative logic to work. The set piece killing is what makes it work. That's why you've gone to watch it. Be invested in the characters, but don't worry about, you know, how the killer got to do this, that and the other, how they're super strong, how they survived this. What does it matter? If they were realistic, you wouldn't be afraid. We'd all beat the shit out of the killer. Christ almighty, you know, any stupid guy in a mask comes at me, I'm gonna go, how much you pay for that mask? I've got one there. Yours is better than mine. Where did you get that? Anyone comes at me with a mask, they're gonna lose their head within seconds. So, and you guys know that. Most people who know me know that as well. So, it's suspension of disbelief. And this is where, like, films, like, critics are very quick to denounce genre slasher picks because, well, the characters are threadbare, the story's ridiculous. It's just a series of set pieces. It's just to get so and so to that place to get killed, and then that person sees the body and then go, yeah, of course it is. But the style is the thing about it. How, God, look at the artists of cinema. You know, Hitchcock, Mario Bava, Dario Argento, John Carpenter. Look at what they did. Look at what they've accomplished with what the critics would say was like, it's just hackneyed old rubbish. It makes no sense at all. How can that make any sense? You know, he gets up, he's been shot 6 times. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's an exercise in pure terror and galvanising an audience. And this sequence, by the way, that bit of music does not play during that sequence. They cut that short. It goes back into this wonderfully dreamy Boswell stuff. So, do you know what I'm saying, folks? Please, comment below and do let me know. But for me, there's a certain framework of a genre movie where sometimes it doesn't work for me. Sometimes I am not amused at all. I'm like, well, that's shit, doesn't work. But it's all down to you as the viewer. If you accept what's happening, and by and large I do, but sometimes, I'm not going to name names, but there are plenty of movies where I just think, oh, fuck off, that's shite, that. I'm not having it. But if you do buy into a scenario, then you'll accept pretty much anything that follows. You'll follow that director, and you'll follow that cast, you'll follow that composer, you'll follow that cinematographer, because they're going to take you on a journey which, all of a sudden, all of your preconceptions have just evaporated, and what you know of the real world and how you react just goes out the window, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. In reality, I'm going to take anyone down that comes through that door with an axe, with a chainsaw. I know how to take them all down. A werewolf comes through, I could be in trouble. I'll be honest. Anyway, folks, this has been a right ribald, rambling sort of session here. But Stagefright, the Michelle Soavi, 1987. A giallo slasher. It's a wonderful movie. You've seen it. I'll probably review. Do we need to review it? I don't need to now, do I? I've done it. I've reviewed the movie. But more importantly, I've cemented that sequence in your minds. Please, folks, go and watch Stagefright. Watch that sequence to see where I'm coming from. I have been and always shall be Kilt-Man. Please, keep it kilted, keep it Celtic, take it easy, be happy, be healthy, and I'm going to see you all for the next production later. Lights